I left Syracuse on October 8th. The day before, I had gone out and bought 3 new tubes, using one to replace a slow leak in the back wheel. Knowing that I was on the last leg of my journey, I found it oddly liberating as I biked along Route 5 eastward. I was 13 miles out when the rear tube went flat. Frustrated because I had just changed the tube, I swapped it out, carefully going over the tire but not finding the cause. 6 miles down the road, the tube went flat once again. At this point, I looked up bike shops, the nearest being 25 miles away outside of Utica. Somewhat at a loss, I hopped back on and hoped for the best. About 4.5 miles away from the bike shop, it happened again, but this time, amazingly, it was a slow leak, and I was able to continue riding on. I made it to the shop, and the guys there were great, treating my bike like royalty. After a few minutes, the man found something deeply embedded in the tire. Using a thin pair of pliers, he was able to dig out a tiny metal shaving. I was amazed by how much trouble it had caused me, and speculated that I had picked it up shortly after purchasing the tires back in South Sioux City, Nebraska, giving me the last 5 of 11 flats over a span of less than a month. Back on the road, I eagerly set out, intent on making my original goal of Little Falls, New York. Everything was running smoothly after my stop at the bike shop, and I made it into town after the sunset. It was a very cold morning as I set out for a long stretch on the towpath. I took it all in, savoring the flatness of the trail, as I knew that I would be leaving it all behind further east. It was a very straightforward ride as I made my way to Cohoes, crossing the Hudson and spending my final night in New York. Breaking away from the trails, the hills wasted no time in showing themselves. I was amazed by the early morning traffic coming into Cohoes, and stayed on the sidewalks as I climbed my way out of the city. The cold weather continued, giving me a very good reason to finish my journey. Once I broke away, I had a good time riding along Route 7. With a nice shoulder to bike on, good views, and only moderate hills, I couldn't ask for much more. Only 30 miles away, I crossed over into Vermont, state number 47, and made it to the beautiful town of Bennington. I stopped by the Bennington Battle Monument and had a great conversation with a couple who were driving across the country from LA. After the monument, I got supplies in town before setting out on Route 9 into the Green Mountains. It was quite the climb right out the gate, but with the great weather and great views, I wasn't complaining. I did the 10 miles out to Woodford State Park and enjoyed the beautiful fall scenery that I had been waiting all year to see. I got a relaxed start to my day, at this point expecting a cold morning. Home was a mere 100 miles away, something that didn't quite seem real. With only 2 days of riding to go, I was somewhat glad for the challenge of the hills. I continued along Route 9, encountering a few more good climbs along the way before setting in for a long ride down to Brattleboro. From town, I crossed the bridge and was over the Connecticut River, the New Hampshire state sign coming into view before I knew it. I briefly met a few tourists who were taking pictures with the sign. It was odd to be able to tell them about my trip, and to point at the sign and say that right there was number 48. I crossed over into my home state, staking on Route 119, a narrow tree-covered stretch of road that took me up and down some impressive hills. The day ended with me finding my way to Jaffrey, New Hampshire, not quite sure how I had come to the last night on the road. On October 12th, I set out for the 35 miles to home. It was a cold and damp morning as I set out first on North 202 and then east on 101. The hills continued, making sure I put in work on my final ride. Before long, I turned off of Route 101, the roads and street names becoming familiar. Soon I was picturing the path ahead of me in my mind, checking off the turns and curves of the roads as I passed them by. I couldn't help but laugh when I came upon one of the hills that I had remembered as being a huge challenge to me back in April. Things were put into perspective when I compared it to the climbs up to Colorado, the Grand Canyon, the Black Hills, or a myriad of other places in between. The excitement of reaching home and completing my goals spurred me on, but at the same time, I felt myself trying to hold on for as long as I could. It all went by in a blur, too short as I tried to condense my adventure through the states in my mind over the last few miles. And then suddenly, all too suddenly,